Douglas Ducote Sr. is a medically retired United States Army Staff Sergeant, veteran law enforcement officer, conservative media personality, and American patriot by grace of God, over 18 years of professional experience. 200,000 subscribers across social media platforms, 20 million video views. In the military active duty, Douglas held 2 different MOS positions, including Chinook Flight Engineer and Huey Crew Chief. In the Army Guard, Douglas picked up another military police officer and received 3 years as a helicopter crew chief. In the California Air Guard, Douglas was deployed 4 times in direct support of combat operations for Golden Pheasant, Just Cause, Desert Storm, and Iraqi Freedom. Throughout his vast career, Douglas proudly served under Presidents Ronald Reagan, George H.W. Bush, Bill Clinton, George W. Bush. In law enforcement, Douglas served as a training officer with the San Mateo County, California Sheriff's Office and with the California National Guard 670th Military Police Company. In 2006, Douglas was inducted into the Louisiana Veterans Hall of Honor. In 2011, Douglas founded Veterans United for Justice, a nonprofit organization. Douglas has worked with many members of the United States Congress to bring awareness to the broken veteran system and highlight the veterans face in the process of obtaining approval for benefit packages, including medical classification. Currently, through Douglas Ducote American Restoration Committee and Protecting the Pledge LLC, Douglas is focused on addressing the issues facing our country today and finding solutions that will prove to be beneficial for generations to come. So without further ado, I please welcome Douglas Ducote.
Well, thank you for that wonderful introduction. Hope I can live up to the standards of that. Las Vegas, Nevada. For those of you who don't know who I am, besides my 24 plus years of military service and law enforcement, for the past 6 years, I've been the host of the podcast, The Douglas Ducote Show, which airs on Tuesdays and Thursday evenings at 8 p.m. Central Time. We go out live on YouTube, Rumble, X, LinkedIn, and then afterwards it's uploaded to my website, douglasducote.com. I'd like to take a moment to thank Jack and Dion for having me here. I hope that Kevin is feeling better soon. I know that Kevin put a lot of work into wanting to be here today, a lot of work into his product that you all saw. And in the future, I know he's going to do wonderful and great things. Although, because I'm here with you this week, the live show is not going to air, obviously because I'm here. But I want everybody to understand that I have been labeled as the most politically incorrect person on social media. And I get death threats on a daily basis. I get people that put together YouTube channels for the sole purpose of just trashing me, my family, my special needs son, only because they don't like what I'm saying. They want to squash my freedom of speech, the freedom of speech that I fought for. They won't challenge me on what I'm saying. They just go for the throat. And the FBI has been involved, local law enforcement is involved, trying to protect me from being arrested from a law enforcement agency that got word that something's going on with me, and they're putting a filter in there. So what happened, you all might remember a few years ago, I think it was 2018, 2019, when there were airport threats being called in all across the country, and they were having to shut down airports. Members of Congress were getting threats against their life. Schools were getting threats against students. Well, lo and behold, if my name wasn't attached to that. What they had done was they would go into websites where you could ask a question and get a response back. And in this case, for the return information, they would put in my name, my email address, my phone number, my address. And the question would be something like, I'm coming to your airport to blow it up and kill everyone. Or I'm coming to your school to rape and murder your children. Or I'm coming up to Congress, so I'm gonna shoot the whole place up. I would get a response email back that's automatically generated that says, thank you for contacting whatever it is, the school or the airport. One of our people will be back with you shortly. And then they wouldn't get back to me. They would immediately turn it over to law enforcement. Law enforcement would go on a witch hunt. Who the hell is this guy? And that's where we're currently at today, which is why the FBI had to get involved to try and let these agencies know that this isn't the guy doing it. They did find one guy in Spain that was attached to these threats, making these threats. And because that guy in Spain was listed as special needs, they refused, Interpol would not send him here to America to be prosecuted. But there's been copycats that have picked up after that. All because I speak my mind. All because I believe that political correctness is one of the worst enemies that we face in this country. And I stand up for law enforcement, I stand up for our firefighters, our first responders, our elderly, our veterans. And I don't care if you're a Democrat, a Republican, a liberal, a conservative. Everybody should have the opportunity and the chance to voice what's on their mind, give their opinion. But if their opinion is 100% lies and it's just absolutely not true, then that's not what I fought for. I didn't serve this country for these people on the far left of our society to make up stuff because they got no other way to win this war that we're in. And sadly, it has become a political war. I guess you'd say that I take this label of political incorrectness as a badge of honor. Because, look, whether you're talking about me positive or negative, you're still talking about me. And therefore, things grow. If you know who Howard Stern is, or Joe Rogan, both on the complete opposites of the political spectrum. Well, my podcast makes them look like Boy Scouts. Oh, I'm sorry, I did not mean to insult them and who they might identify as. They might identify as Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, or 500 other types of identities in between, but I think you get the message that we're on a pathway that's not looking good when it comes to shutting down freedom of speech. Just a few years ago, before Elon Musk purchased Twitter, I was right at 1 million followers on Twitter, and I got into a back and forth with a wonderful lady by the name of Representative Alexandra Acosta-Cortez, AKA AOC, and she had tweeted out something that I don't remember exactly what it was. It was just so far off and so insane that I had to respond and speak my mind. So it was a simple tweet back to her. And I said, please tell me just how many Tide Pods one must eat to be this damn stupid. She reported it, and Twitter removed my account, losing the 1 million something subscribers, and I was banned for life. And they gave me a reason. The reason was I was promoting suicide by suggesting she eat Tide Pods. Now, I think about that, and she's probably stupid enough to eat Tide Pods, so therefore maybe that was a good thing. Elon Musk allowed me back on Twitter. Thankfully, one of my neighbors is a good friend of his. And, but so many conservatives and Republicans and people, law enforcement, military that followed me, aren't back there anymore. They've left the platform. So it's slowly growing back. It's taken some time. So what this means is when I'm invited to do public speaking, such as today, with a mixed crowd, you typically get the toned down version of me, not the podcast version. That being said, when I heard I was invited to come to Las Vegas to give this speech, first thing that popped into my mind, which by the way I mistakenly said out loud in front of my wife, was, boy, are they in for a treat. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, right, baby? To which she responded, no, I'll be with you. Now, she's not here. She didn't make the trip. But it's being recorded for my show. And because I love my beautiful, caring, and gracious wife, and I like sleeping indoors, and I like sex with my wife, so I'm not going to do the podcast version. And she see this, and then I'm in the doghouse. Although I have built a doghouse in my backyard for our dog that is amazing. It's got AstroTurf. It's got an air conditioning system. It's got heating. It's got a hanging bed frame, basically, in case I end up in that doghouse. Now, here's where we're going with this. 63 years ago, yeah, I'm old. Actually, I was born in 62. Ronald Reagan spoke these words: freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it to our children in the bloodstream. The only way they can inherit it, that freedom that we have known, is if we fight for it, protect it, defend it, and then hand it to them with the well-thought lessons of how they, in their lifetime, must do the same. And if we don't do this, then you and I may well spend our sunset years telling our children and our children's children what it was once like in America when men were free. Now, I had the honor of serving as Ronald Reagan as my first commander-in-chief. And a lot of people have different thoughts about Ronald Reagan. I can just tell you, out of all the presidents that I served under, I miss the man. Now, what was Reagan referring to when he gave that speech? And that fits in great to what I just witnessed with this demonstration you all just saw. Reagan was referring to several things: our children's safety when it comes to school shootings, our children being exposed to drugs and gangs, and our children being indoctrinated with socialism and communism. Reagan is referring to these same children growing into adults and in the process being indoctrinated in the school system by far-left liberal communist and socialist ideology. When President Reagan made that speech, Republicans and Democrats for the most part laughed, because the thought that any of these things would happen one day in America was just outright ludicrous. I, for one, never saw happening what we're seeing today. Well, President Reagan had some sort of special powers to see into the future, if you ask me, because every part of that speech has become reality today. First, let's look at the school shootings. The 10 years before that speech, 1950 to 1961, 20 students were killed during a school shooting incident. Then, as he predicted, things got worse for our children each and every year thereafter. Over the next 10 years, 1961 to 1971, 31 students were killed in school shootings. Fast forward over to 2000, and we see horrible and astronomical school shootings taking place. From 2000 to 2022, there were 1,375 school shootings, resulting in 1,676 students' deaths. Last year in 2023, there were 346 school shootings, and 21 students sadly lost their life. And we're not just talking about students, we're also talking about educators and the people that work in the schools. So far this year, there have been 24 students killed on campuses across America, with another 66 that were shot yet survived. We still have 2 more months left this year, and sadly those numbers are going to climb. So it's beyond obvious that this has sadly become a way of life in America. People are almost immune to it because we hear about these school shootings several times a week now via 24/7 news. It's on your TVs, iPhones, iPads, the newspapers, and this horrible thing we have called the internet. Basically, school shootings have become an epidemic in our country, which brings me to the 2 most asked questions. Can we fix this problem? And how can we fix this problem? Well, first let me say that, First let me say that the problem can't be fixed to the point that no student deaths via school shootings will ever continue, just like every other crime across this land. But we can use common sense and address the problem head on by making changes to our school infrastructure, such as doors, windows, metal detectors, video surveillance. We can provide law enforcement, school resource officers. We can train school staff in the use of firearms and equip them with such. And we can hire more trained and licensed mental health counselors to be embedded within each school, no different than we do with school nurses. Yes, all these things will cost money, lots of it. But we are a nation that can send billions and billions of our taxpayer money to foreign countries to protect their children's future. Then damn it, why can't we do the same thing for our children? We can be and should be proactive in doing everything possible to make every school a safe place for our children. Now, that's my suggestion as a former law enforcement officer and a combat veteran. So what's the other alternative? Well, that comes from the far left of our society, and I'm talking about not all, but most of the far left liberals of our society. We can restrict certain types of guns like the AR-15 and the AK-47, along with high-capacity magazines. But what would that accomplish? Not a damn thing, when the FBI and the Department of Justice data shows that approximately 90% of all school shootings in America, the shooter used a handgun, not an AR-15. But you will never hear those stats from the news media. So that leaves only 16% roughly of school shootings where the shooter used an assault-style weapon. Proof that banning scary black rifles does absolutely nothing. It's only good for political talking points and nothing else. Next, the left not only wants to ban assault weapons or scary black weapons, but they blame the weapon as the problem and not the shooter. The problem is not the weapon at all. A weapon does not have a brain, eyes, arms, hands, fingers, and cannot take itself to the school and start firing away. It requires a human to do that, take possession of that weapon, drive, walk, or hitch a ride to the school, load the weapon, aim the weapon, and fire the weapon. So what type of human would do something like that? A human suffering from a mental illness. Everyone knows you're not allowed to bring a gun into a school, much less start shooting it and killing everyone. But one class of humans don't know or don't care. And that's those that suffer from mental illness. And criminals, because they don't abide by our laws, no matter what you pass. That's why they're called criminals. They're gonna do this regardless. Furthermore, where do most shootings happen in this country? Places the government has labeled gun-free zones. And what are all schools in America? Gun-free zones. Every human, those with or without a mental illness, understand what a gun-free zone is. And that's why criminals and the mentally ill conduct their shootings in places that are designated gun-free zones, because law-abiding citizens will be unarmed. Hard cold fact, America has a mental health crisis. It's not a gun crisis. So, while the left continues to blame the gun, it's up to the rest of us to address the root cause of the problem, and it's up to us to use every technology available within our school system to keep our children as safe as we possibly can. New technology that's built into doors, locks, windows, that make it difficult, if not impossible, for the bad guy. Better technology and security cameras, metal detectors, and the use of school resource officers, mental health care professionals, and trained staff. Technology of bulletproof glass or resistance, and doors is here and is getting better all the time. The same goes for security systems such as cameras and metal detectors. Some of the technology you have seen today firsthand, and that was a great, great demonstration. It is up to us to take the lead, take action that has proven results, and to do everything possible to fix this problem, because it's never gonna go away. Not today, not tomorrow, not next year, not in the next 100 years, sadly. Doesn't matter who we elect in the White House, things that are evil will continue to take place. But we can lower the death rates drastically by simply using common sense. And Lord knows, we have a few million humans walking among us that don't have a lick of common sense. Next, President Reagan was able to envision what would happen in the future to our children if they processed through an education system that was indoctrinating them in the communist and socialist ideology. And then after graduating school, as now young adults, what the actions would be for many of them from such indoctrination. And sadly, we've been able to see that today. And they are known as Antifa and the radical part of BLM. Which, by the way, happens to be filing for bankruptcy because they don't have any funds, because their higher powers there decided to buy billion-dollar homes and cars. The other destruction of those two groups, mostly young adults, mostly white young adults, most freshly out of the American school system, where they were taught the exact opposite about America as you and I. They were taught that our founding fathers who wrote our Constitution, those Americans who love our flag, our law enforcement, our veterans, are the evil villains. They look up to multi-million-dollar NFL players, such as Colin Kaepernick, that got everybody taking a knee. Those two groups of young adults, over the past 10 years, are 100% responsible for the death of many innocent men, women, and children and police officers. They're also responsible for millions of dollars worth of merchandise being looted from stores under the term peaceful protesting. They're responsible for billions of dollars worth of damage when they burn to the ground major department stores, mom and pop businesses, police stations, postal centers, and burning police cars. again, under the umbrella of peaceful protesting. We watched it unfold live on CNN, Fox News, on our television sets. In places such as Atlanta, Georgia, Ferguson, Missouri, Portland, Oregon, Seattle, Washington, Berkeley, California, Minneapolis, St. Paul, just to name a few. Nearly 1,500 property locations in just Minneapolis-St. Paul metropolitan area alone suffered severe property damage during the riots, aka peaceful protesting, such as by fire, looting, smashed windows, doors, graffiti, and many other forms of vandalism that we all watched unfold. And then sadly, we watched one political party of mayors have law enforcement stand down and just let them get it out of their system. At a cost of approximately $500 million in just that location. Sadly, 60% of the financial losses from the rioting in Minneapolis-St. Paul were local mom and pop stores that were uninsured or had no insurance at all. And if that's not enough, let me remind you of what's coming across our southern border. That also is taking a direct aim at our children and our infrastructure. Gangs such as MS-13, Trinity Agua, millions of tons of illegal drugs such as fentanyl and sex trafficking of women and children. I've done several border documentaries. I've gone to the southern border many times. I've interviewed Border Patrol, local law enforcement, business owners, as well as home and landowners. Those documentaries are on my website, if anybody ever cares to watch them. Trust me, it's a major humanitarian disaster that must be fixed. As the Border Patrol has told me many times, and I've interviewed them on my podcast, lots of them, to include those that are running all their major agencies along the Texas and Nevada borders. We're not in control of the border anymore. The cartels are. And just last week, the cartels were giving an order to shoot and kill any Border Patrol officer that stands between them and their mission. In the past, that was off limits. In the past, it appeared that even the cartels stopped and would not let them do something like that. Which brings me right back to what could be done to help eliminate the damage. Technology makes changes to our business infrastructure. What you saw today being presented to you, some of which are witnessed in this event. It's up to us, me and you, to do everything in our power to help curb the aftermath of violence in our schools and our inner cities all across this country. It is up to us to make these products affordable as well, or they will never get used. It is up to us to get involved with our local school systems and know what our children are being taught. That's one of the most important things. And it is up to us to push back on any attempt at defunding the police. It is up to us to take a stand against evil and those that are more than willing to look towards Satan for the answers to their problems. And when I say that, I also must add that yes, are there bad police officers? Sure there are. Are there racist cops out there? You bet there are. And they also exist in every single type of business in this country. But the majority of the police officers in this country do not wake up every day before their shift and wonder how many innocent black youth they can go out and kill today. Although that's what a part of our society wants our students to believe, and it's not true. It is up to you and I, we the people, to take a stand against those that choose to indoctrinate our children into communism and socialism, because we have seen firsthand the price by sitting idle, turning our heads, and using the mentality of, that's not my problem. It is our problem. And if we don't take a stand to do our part, President Reagan's speech will be the most important speech ever uttered by a human being. The only way they can inherit the freedom we have known is if we fight for it and protect it and defend it, and then hand it to them with the well-fought lessons of how they in their lifetime must do the same. And if you don't do that, then we will be spending our sunset years telling our children and our children's children what it was once like when America, where men and women were free. Mark my words, that generation that Ronald Reagan was referring to is now. Sadly, it's happening right now. Now, I'll leave you with this. In 6 days, you have a choice to make if you didn't do early voting. I won't stand here and tell you who is a better candidate for the future of our country. That choice is up to you to make, and do your own homework instead of listening to the talking points from the mainstream media and social media. But I will tell you that one of the candidates believes 100% in the words that I've spoken to you today, while the other believes I'm a liar, I'm a conspiracy theorist, I'm a fascist, and the second coming of Hitler. Please choose wisely for our future, our children's future, because future generations depend on it. If the laughing hyena does win, the only good thing, if you want to call this good, I've never done this product, so I'm not sure if it's good, but she has agreed, I understand, to distribute Hunter Biden crack pipes and the crack to go in it so we can deal with her incompetent ass for the next 4 years. Let's hope that that doesn't happen. Thank you for your time. Never ever quit on our children, for they are our future. May God bless America, our children, our protectors, and law enforcement, our Blue and Gold Star families, and our Angel families, our troops, and each of you. And if you do not know what Angel families are, or Gold Star families, I encourage you to please Google it. Look it up. Because they need our support more today than ever before. And I say that because, and I know many of them, many Gold Star families and many Angel families. I give you a little hint. Angel families, to get that title, your loved one has to be killed by somebody that's not supposed to be here in our country. And Gold Star families are those that they lost their loved ones serving our country. This current administration, with everything we've seen happen with the debacle of the withdrawal and how it was done in Afghanistan, and the war that they have conducted on law enforcement, their actions are literally peeing on the graves of the loved ones of those families. And that is the most un-American thing that anyone can ever possibly do. Every American should be treated with dignity and respect, no matter what political stance you have. We should all be willing to listen to each other, take criticism, not get all upset because of somebody's words. You know, like we're doing this cancel culture on comedians now. It's a joke, for crying out loud. Although I joke a lot, I'm dead serious about what's happening in this country right now. I fought for the freedoms for all Americans to live safe, especially our children. And if we don't fix that today, it's too late. Because the generations that are coming up, not all school systems, especially not in the South, where we still say prayer before every meeting we have, whether it's city, county, or school board, where we pray before the football games at high school, where we have corporal punishment in schools. Parents can check off whether or not they allow it. But the accountability in many places in this country of our children's actions, not because they were evil, but because They were taught things that most of us weren't. And they were not taught respect of their elders. And they were not taught respect of those that serve this country. And that's sad. I hope that changes in my lifetime at least. I hope that there will come a time in our society where everyone can get along. And if somebody wants to stand up and criticize me, it's words, I take it. But when I am putting out factual information, why call me a Nazi and a fascist? Why not just go, okay, Google it, do your homework, and realize where we're headed. And that direction is the youth of this country, being able to keep it free. We're still the safest and freest country on God's earth. But if we don't change direction, I have been to countries all over this planet that I see us headed towards. And those people that have fled from other countries to America will stand here and tell you the exact same thing. Many of them that have become American citizens now are looking at our system and going, what the hell are you doing? And why are you allowing this to happen to your country? We fled to get away from that. And here you are embracing it. So it's important that we speak out, we speak up, we don't be intimidated by those that try and silence our speech, and that we're willing to take to our grave what's the most important thing to us. Do we do everything in our power in our waking days to protect our future generation of this country, our children? Again, thank you for having me. It's a blessing to be here. I'm very honored to be here. And if I offended anybody today, I'm sorry. Come up to me, shake my hand, and tell me what you think. I'm a big man and I can take it. God bless you.